kwa taarifa hizo za michezo. Bila shaka mtazamaji, kwa taarifa hizo ndipo nakamilisha taarifa zetu za Dira ya Wiki leo hii Ijumaa. Sasa nimpishe Yolanda Mulwa aendeleze kutoka katika eneo hilo la Westlands ambako KTN inaadhimisha miaka 35. Kutoka kwangu na pia kwa niaba ya mwenzangu kwa lugha ishara Meresha Witi, usiku mwema.
35 years of entertainment and 35 years of magic. My name is Yolanda Mulwa, and I'm going to be introducing you to a very powerful conversation led by my colleague, Dennis Aseto. But we have so many different fields represented here. We have our clients who have supported us and made sure that our lights remain, on. We also have former talents. We have former producers, Wangeshi Murage, looking fresh as a daisy. And we have pioneering anchors. I said I'm not going to call them old because Topi said I'll see him Nyuma ya tent, and I don't want to cash that check. And I want to just recognize the PSICT. Mr. Isaboke is also, Honorable Isaboke is also in the house with us. So Dennis Aseto, how it all began. Take it away.
How it all began?
Yes.
Wow. How do you say it? We rewind?
Yes, we
Yeah.
So, we rewind and
Shuttle back.
And shuttle back, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, Lydia. Yeah.
As I was saying, the pioneering team were magicians. What made it run on time was the fact that it was manually calculated. The transmission schedule was manually calculated to the second, and nothing was allowed to go later than the time it was allocated. Mm-hmm. And therefore, everything just ran like clockwork. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Faz, there's that pressure that is always there. It's your first day on TV, but Kenyans are eager to see those who are coming in. And whether you like it or not, you just have to deliver. Take us through the thought process, because I was with you on Wednesday, and one thing you told me, Dennis, you need to make sure that you always have that script, because it makes your work easier, because you always refer back and it is authentic and real. Tell us how authentic and real it was at the time.
Yes, it was great actually, working with you on Wednesday. And like I told you, I'm quite old school. You were quite surprised when I requested for scripts. I feel a little uneasy without scripts. I know you've got the pads and, digitization at its max, but we're old school. Well, I think as I reminisce and I go back in time, my first bulletin, it was, I remember Herman Gambi and Rose Licolo saying, you're starting tomorrow on the 1 o'clock bulletin. Mm-hmm. And you're aware that there's maybe hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are going to watch you, and you're live. Mistakes made are made. So with that awareness, you go into the deep ocean and you start swimming. And I remember on my first bulletin, I think my head was swinging like a pendulum, because I made sure I recorded it. And I said, but it flowed. But I can tell you, I think it was the passion that we had for what we did, and we were extremely dedicated. Remuneration came later. It was to be a journalist, to be a news anchor. And as time flowed, I'll never say that the nervousness goes away. No, the nervousness never goes away. You could be doing it and it's a good thing that you should be nervous, because if you're too overconfident of yourself, that's where you'll mess up. So as the time flowed, it was the confidence in presentation that overrides the nervousness, but it's there at the background. with the experience that comes along, the nervousness is there, but the confidence is there, and the ability to present and to reach out to your viewer. And one very interesting thing that I think we all experience when we meet our fans. We had a big fan base, because remember, there was no social media. I keep saying we were like a breath of fresh air. And you'd be walking on the street and people would come to you, oh my God, are you the guy who reads the news? We'd go to a restaurant, you're getting, this VIP service. I'd go to Mombasa, and all the waiters around me on the Mzungu say, who the hell is this guy? Why is he getting all the VIP service? But yes, because KTN was KTN, being watched across the country. And they would come to us, and later on over the years, what they did tell us is that, because we just deliver the news, we don't make the news, right? But they say, when we watch you, Fayaz, or Catherine, or Jeroge, when you read the news, or Topi saying the sports, or Lydia, or Honorable Rafal Tuju, these are believable faces. We actually believe what you say. It's very difficult to comprehend, a newcomer. Of course, a newcomer has to come at some point, but it'll take him some time. And like I always say, this is one industry. News anchors just get better just how wine gets better. News anchors keep getting better, or news presenters, or radio presenters, or TV presenters. Keep
getting better, And that is a testament, because every other day we look back, we refresh, we keep going, and every day is a struggle to be better than yesterday. Topi, sports guy, pushing it, doing your thing, enjoying it. Let's look at back then, today. A lot has changed, because now, I remember the time when we were going digital and people asked, what does it mean even going digital? When we were switched off one day and everybody had to buy the set of boxes. Today we talk about YouTube, we talk about TikTok and all this. Has this transition really changed the mojo that was there back then? Or has it improved what one would call legacy media?
Of course, thank you very much, Dennis. I think plenty has changed. Plenty has improved. You cannot compare, but you see, like what Lydia said, that, they had to calculate to the minute. And it had to go now when it ends that time. If it's off cue, if it's 1 minute more, it will be cut off. Because the bosses were there, Mike Rolls as the GM and Tom Dixon as the program's manager, they ensured that we were international standards. There's one thing, though, which I can remember, which I can recall, and I think I can relate to myself, is that at KTN, we were allowed to be ourselves. Something that, never used to happen, say, at VOK or KBC before that. And I recall one particular incident when we got a call from State House to cancel the news. And we were called and we were told, you know what? Because the chairman, Jared Kangwana, had called in and said, any editor coming in, tell them that I'm calling in a few minutes. He's calling from a landline, there's no mobile, so you've got to wait. And I come in and say, the technicians told me it wasn't Jacinta on that day. That I think it was Langat. So Langat says, oh, you've come in, please, ngojea, chairman anapiga simu. So I'm saying, maybe I'm off. Kwanzaa Sunday, it was my off day. Because I used to do 6 days a week. So whether you liked it or not, you had to see my face every night. And maybe that's what also built up my popularity. Because like I was on there every single night up to Saturday. Now, on this particular day, Sunday, we had gone to cover, a presentation ceremony in Westland, so we come back. So, okay, so I wait. I said, okay, fine, the chairman is calling, I'll wait. So the chairman calls, I say, yes, oh, who is that? Topi. So, okay, Topi, we have a problem. I said, what problem? He said, we have a problem. We've had a call from State House that we cannot run the news. There's a problem with it. So I said, okay, sir, I'm just coming in. I do not know. I haven't watched the news. He said, no, it's just, I said, okay, fine. Can you give me 10 minutes? Let me have a look at it. And then he said, there's a problem with the first item we ran. Like what Mheshimiwa Raf said, KTN did not start. You see, like when I was at VOK, it was very interesting. When you go to read the news, you don't even need to open the page. You just say, Mutukufu Rais Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Before even you look at the script, you know that is the first. But at KTN it was different. We would start with the big news. And the big news at that time, this was election time. Matiba had a meeting, and he had said, given the president the ultimatum that in 2 weeks' time, if Section 2A had not been repealed, he will lead a march to State House. So the powers that be at State House were not happy. They said, get off that item. Now, all these guys had gone because we used to do the 7 o'clock news, 9 o'clock news. Then we record for 11. So he said, no, I said, okay, Mr. Chairman, I don't know what the problem is, but can I just have a look? Give me 10 minutes. I'll have a look at it, then I'll come back to you. So 10 minutes he called me. He said, have you seen it? I said, I've seen it. And from what I'm seeing, actually, it's even credit to the government. Because Matiba looks disoriented, and at that time he had just come out and he had actually a disability. He could not, hold his hand. So I said, so basically what we need to do, in fact, it's good for the government if this thing is run, because this is TV. And TV people don't just listen. They watch. So when they watch you and you're looking funny, that's what will take precedence. So I told him, okay, fine. Then he said, okay, give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes, he calls back, says, no, they say you have got that item cannot go. So I said, okay, fine. I've still got about like 30 minutes. Can I edit it out? Then we ran the rest of the news. I said, okay, I'll come back to you on that. Wait for 5 minutes. So he calls and he tells me, no, it's been decided that the whole bulletin does not go. So I said, okay, so how do we tell people that? Because I said, Chairman, people are waiting, and they wait for KTN news. Everybody religiously waited for the KTN news. That's how powerful KTN was. So people will ask, so what is it? No, where you go in and they say there will be no news. I said, wow. Now I can't say that. So I thought about it and said, okay, fine. The only reason that the common man, the viewer, will not ask is technical. So I told these guys, okay, fine, let me change. I had my shirt and my jacket here. I'll go in and cancel the news. So I told the technicians to ready the studio. Then the engineer comes, said, what are you going to say? I said, technical. Said, technical, I'm here. You want me to be sacked? So I told him, boss, this is coming from the chairman. It's not about you. Say, what do you want me to say? Okay, can you give me, just write for me what you want me to say. Then he said, no. I said, I'm going to say that. Or if you want to stop me, then call the chairman and tell him that, I'm not going to cancel the news. So what I did, I just went in, I said, okay, viewers, unfortunately for some technical problems, and Jacinta knows the technical problems they had that they're running. A tape could get stuck in the machine, anything, And those things, of course, the common man would know, technical, your tape imekuliwa. Imekataa kucheza. So I said that and I finished and I got out of my jacket and went home. Next day, these guys came back and everybody was praying for my blood. Why did you cancel the news? Because there was no communication. So next day, people, where is Topi? Why did he, why? Like the editors, people like Isaiah Kabira, Catherine Openda, they wanted me, why did I not, Rose Lucalo? They said, I should have told them why. And then I told them, you guys, it was coming from very far above us. So that's why I had to. Now, what I was saying about the discipline that we had at KTN, that you are allowed to be yourself. I was the sports controller and presenter. So I told myself, wait a minute. The next day, as we were arguing on why it was cancelled, a letter comes from State House. KTN shall no longer broadcast local news until further notice. So that way, but I said, why I say we were allowed is that I said local news is politics. Sports is not politics. So I said I'll cover my local politics, local sports. I said, no. I said, did you hear? They did not say sports. They said politics. And I went on. you know, I went on covering sports, local sports, but anything else, fortunately for us, we were running CNN 24/7. So CNN, so they would get the international news, and then the rest of the time CNN. But I ran my local news.
Yeah.
That's how good KTN was.
And you see, you speak about a time when the freedoms we enjoy today are not there. But today, things have really changed because even the Constitution addresses itself to freedom of the media, freedom of speech. And if you look at that, the lessons that all of you learned at the time, what would be the lessons that us today should learn from the time when you were starting to bring forth a new breath of fresh air into the industry? And if at all, what is it that we must struggle to push forward and make it even better for posterity? Rafa?
Well, I don't know if looking at the past is that important. The past should only inform us as to how we should do the future better. I think not enough credit has been given to President Moi for having allowed KTN to exist. You must understand that there was some control and management even of KTN. The fact that it was at Nyayo House, which was a government building, and that had security implications, which means that you could not storm it, and it was a controlled environment. And people don't give enough credit to President Moi for two things. One of them is having allowed KTN, and the other thing is that when a lot of his sycophants had sworn that we must not have multi-party, that in fact some of the ministers then said that removing, bringing about multi-party was so horrible, and it was like so difficult. It was like cutting a mugumo tree with a razor blade.
Yeah.
But Moi in his wisdom, President Moi in his wisdom, I remember at Kasarani, he said that despite the fact that the majority of his cabinet and the majority of the politicians who were around him were telling him what he wanted, what they thought he wanted to hear, he announced at Kasarani that he was going to allow multi-party politics to prevail. And so the story of KTN cannot be divorced from the opening of political space in this country. So I think the genius of this country, and this was very apparent to me last night when I was reading the news, that it helped to manage the change. It opened a second window for Kenyans to get the news as it was. In our neighboring country, where they would shut the internet, they would not allow the kind of freedom that we have in this country to prevail, what happens is a kind of pressure that has happened in Tanzania, and it can get worse. So at least we had the valve to control the pressure, and KTN was part and parcel of that valve. So I think that is something worth remembering. And going forward, we must embrace new technology. It is disruptive, but if you suppress it, it blows up on your face.
Yeah. Lydia.
The one thing that I would advise you never ever to lose from past, present, and going into the future is credibility. You lose that, nobody will tune into KTN. And that's one thing that KTN was credited for. It was the credibility of the news that was delivered, and that's why people looked forward to it. As opposed to hiding information that was already in the public domain and wanting to sugarcoat it, KTN said it as it is. Remember as it was. Remember Sabasaba?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was said, no, there were no injuries, there were no deaths and all. Okay, 7 o'clock news, we played it cool, but 9 o'clock,
went all in.
A few people walianguka nayo. because they laid it bare for the world to see that this had gone on and it is wrong and must be corrected.
Yeah.
Credibility must never be lost.
Yeah, being told time is not on our side. Fires, where do you want to see the media go?
I think, of course, I'll second what Lydia just said. Credibility is very, very important. And also, something very interesting what Honorable Raphael Tuju said. Despite everything, President Moi let it happen. You know, it did. Saba Saba, the stories went through. The first private network, multi-party. Despite the few issues that we had, the story still went. Was aired.
Yeah.
Messages were conveyed, and it was very bold journalism that took place. And I think.
Yeah, and you have to credit. You have to credit Jared Kangwana. I mean, he was close to President Moi. He was his lawyer, and it was not easy for him because there were enough people who wanted to allow only what President Moi would want to hear. But Jared Kangwana protected us. We could be bold, but we didn't end up in detention for having been bold.
Yeah.
So he made sure that he somehow balanced it really well. He was the man who would convey with the president and make sure that things happened at KTN. Credibility, and I think it's so important that, first and foremost, of course, the dedication of people like you, the faces of KTN today. The passion, the dedication, remuneration should be later. It will come. Because if it's just a remuneration, that's all that will be on your mind. And people will see through that. But when you're dedicated and compassionate about what you do, it will flow.
No, but you're spoiling the party. I mean, we are the pioneers, and I was hoping after this we'll get some checks.
Topi, real quick, we have 30 seconds here.
Actually, I also agree with Mheshimiwa, what he said about crediting the late President Moi. May God rest his soul in peace. Because KTN started operations in 1990. Do you know it took us up to 92 that we realized who wields the power at KTN? Because there was those calls, like the call that came in about the cancellation, that was just State House. The president, we did not even know that, he actually owned KTN until 1992. Because he was hands off. He never, interfered. But you see at the end of the day, because, and even like before, I'd also gotten from the former director of VOK called Nyamboki, he had said, you see, sometimes the president can say, like in anger, and then when you go to edit your news, he said he would go, because he was the head of the presidential press, he would go to him and say, Mzee, hapo umesema hii, but if it goes, it's not going to sound. He said, tengeneza. But what we're saying, okay, fine, the credibility. And the thing is this, because like in Saba Saba, the story was that only 2 people were killed. Wangoi Gashie, who was then also, may God bless her soul, she was there on the count, and she said she counted 8 bodies. And we reported 8 bodies.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, okay, fine, the credibility is yours. And you guys, especially like, these days talking about, about remuneration coming later. Our days, we used to go and cover stories and get back. You wanted, the passion was how to get that story on board.
Yeah.
But today, what I see is that most of the reporters, you cover the story and you're hanging around because you want Mheshimiwa to say hello to you, to shake your hand before you leave. Brown envelopes. I think that also in a way has actually, because if I'm going to run your story number 1, because you gave me a bahasha, of course, it means the heavier bahasha will now, is the bahasha that will determine whether this goes number 1 or not.
Yeah.
And once you get that feeling, then people are going to despise you. KTN, we did our stories and we stuck.
And I think that is where we get to give them a round of applause for taking us through the history. And what we need to do real quick, Fires.
Just one thing I would like to add.
Yeah.
You know, what we did was with limited resources. It was absolutely amazing. You know, media's evolved, embraced technology, and sky's the limit right now. Because what we did then and what you can do now, oh man, it would be.
Yeah. A round of applause for the legends themselves. Asanteni sana. We thank you. We're taking a short commercial break, but on stage for the second panel, you may take your seats. Asanteni sana. Is David Omoyo, CEO, Media Council of Kenya. Joel Rao, CEO. Yes. Rao, CEO, Dentu. Professor George Nyabuga, Association Dean at the Aga Khan Graduate School of Media and Communications, and Charles Otieno, Managing Editor, Standard Group. Asanteni sana. Tuwapigie makofi as they go to sit down, and just a reminder of where we are getting to understand that even those who were there did not know that former President Daniel Moi owned the station, you know, and we continue to give respect to the man for allowing KTN to be KTN. Yolanda, I see you here.
Oh yes, I wanted to tell you how life has changed. Let me tell you, living legends. When the Pope died, when Mwai Kibaki, former president of Kenya, died, I was hosting mid-morning on Spice FM, our English broadcasting station. And I was tweeted, I was asked, "Ala, kwani utuambi Pope amekufa?" That's the difference between what happened then. We would wait for the news to be broken by a credible media outlet like KTN, like in the case of the late Raila Amolo Odinga. Today,
My skin is my identity, my strength. It's unique and deserves care made specially for me. Nivea Radiant and Beauty Even Glow, enriched with 95% pure vitamin C and pearl extract for visibly radiant and even-toned skin in just 2 weeks. Nivea Radiant and Beauty Even Glow. Skin is for celebrating my shade of beautiful. Nivea is for skin.
Beyond the gleaming skyscrapers, humming factories, kwa hizi mitasi ufanya biz na tech, zote ni backdrop tu. The real power drive in Kenya ni sisi, the dreamers. Sini wala sojituma, the doers, the innovators. Si ndio tunajenga future. Si utafuta unga daily, tujijenge na tujenge jamii. Our businesses zina sow seeds for generations to come. Bidii yetu ndio maendeleo yetu, na tumegrow hizi hustle from simple ones to solid ones. Tukitaka kugrow zaidi, we choose partners with solutions that get us there. Solutions that power progress, step by step. Your dreams zetu come true. You could also power your progress. Join Safaricom Business today. Power your progress at business.safaricom.co.ke.
It's Yes November on November Nakafu. Yes, day one of daily crazy offers. Yes, massive discounts. Yes, big savings. Yes, lowest prices. Yes, yes, yes to the biggest deals and discounts all November Nakafu.
there's no place I'd rather be.
Renew your subscription today at only 549 Kenya shillings for Nova Bouquet on the Dish Decoder. Download the StarTimes app to never miss a match even when you are on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
They say politics is local, but news is both local and international. This is International Roundups, where we bring you everything international, the geopolitics and decisions made on that level, and what all these decisions mean to you. Only right here on KTN.
Are we live?
Worldwide.
I should be careful.
Na wamesema mimi nakaa better than wewe, so tuanze na mimi kwanza, si ndio? Ama unapinga?
You know, Johnny, that pandi yako moja ulisahau.
So we are live on location at the Novotel in Westlands, and we are celebrating grandiose things is what we are known for. First of many, first entertainment, privately owned TV station in the country. When you talk about media freedom, you think about KTN first. And I'd really like to thank some of our partners who made this night possible. We have Densu Kenya, we have the Moi Educational Center, we have Kabarak University, we have Kabarak Primary School, we have Kenya College of Accountancy, we have the Kenya Police Sacco, and we also have Odibet. And I have Dennis Aseto, very ready to have a very serious conversations. I said again, we do not pass up the chance to learn and grow and share all that. By the way, we don't gatekeep at Standard Group PLC and KTN at that. So we are going to be having a conversation on the future of truth, media in the age of AI and digital distribution. The floor is yours, Aseto.
Thank you, Yolanda. Looking nice, looking nice, yeah? But let's get to have this conversation because a lot has changed, eh? But I want to introduce the gentleman on stage. Next time, 2/3 gender majority, lazima you apply. just so, But Joel Stephen Rao, current CEO of Densu Kenya, is a dynamic and innovative leader in digital marketing, entertainment, and business solutions. Karibu sana. We have Professor George Nyabuga. He is the Associate Dean, Aga Khan University Graduate School of Media and Communications. He was previously an Associate Professor of Media and Journalism at the University of Nairobi School of Journalism, as well as a media professional. You never lose that term. Once a media practitioner, always a media practitioner. Those who enjoy reggae music say a Rastaman never dies. A media man never leaves the profession as well. And then we have Jared Kidambi. This is the man behind computers. We're just from having a discussion on having an AI policy at Standard Media Group, and he's the one who's pushing it. The perfect man to have on stage to just have this discussion. Rao. Yes. Rao. Oh, you're the second Rao okay, Rao. Okay.
Well, that wasn't this is the real name.
This is the real name. All right, so Rao, we talk about a time where the media has changed a lot. Many want to call us legacy media, but we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, yes. We are on our websites, we are on YouTube, we're pretty much everywhere where AI is. But how has this shift changed the landscape, especially in the media industry?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Eh? And first and foremost, a hearty hand clap for this lovely gentleman. He's doing a good job, right? The reality of the matter is that legacy media isn't dying. I want to repeat that legacy media isn't dying. It's evolving. And with this evolution, the age of digital noise has brought in so much to the consumers, to people who are watching, to people who are reading. And I think platforms like KTN actually represent something priceless. Our legends have just told us right now that, credibility has always been there. And I think it's something that's priceless. Context and cultural continuity is something that we actually bring to the table. So I don't believe legacy media is dying. It's just evolving. But the foundational principles around it are what makes it what it is. Now, from an advertiser's perspective, I represent quite a number of brands around the region. Our role is to shape consumer behavior. As admin, your media men, we are admin. Yeah, we shape consumers' behavior. And data-driven media, creativity, that needs technologies where that magic is happening right now. So those would be my remarks towards that.
Yeah. Prof, so you served as a media practitioner at a time when one would say digitization had not really taken root as it has today, right? So if you just sit back and look at from aspect of academia, having been in the media industry and the changes that we see today, what are some of the what one would say must do today for media and the changing landscape, AI, to work together for the success of both sides? Because like we've said, legacy media is not dying, it is evolving. But what are some of must do, must take for the media today?
All right, thank you very much for that question. But let me start by congratulating KTN. 35 years of public service is a great milestone. And seeing the legends here, Topi, Lydia, Fayaz, Raphael, it's always a great opportunity to listen to the people that really shaped Kenya's broadcast journalism and journalism in general. And the fact that KTN continues to serve public interest. And I think recently we've seen them doing the Lord's work, as we say. Majorly because it's still very bold journalism in a very difficult media and political environment. And as we say, when Kenya's political history and media history is written, I think KTN will have very, very many pages in that book. And let me say that journalism, I think, has changed over the years. As you've rightly indicated, technologies become an important player in this space. And we cannot avoid technology. Mainly because it's made journalism easier. I think we used to spend a lot of time, for example, in the library researching stories, researching articles. But right now, I'm told that you can take 5 minutes to write a major story, mainly because technology has made it easier for you to do the research, for you to do the background, and for you to complete a story. And I think I've just seen somewhere that a TV station has had their first AI presenter, which is a great thing, but also something that is worrying, because that human intervention and human effect is always important in storytelling, for believability, for trust, at a time when we know that media is suffering a credibility and trust deficit for one reason or another. Topi mentioned the fact that there's a bit of corruption in the media, and I think that is an acknowledged fact, something that people cannot run away from. But at the same time, we know that Kenya's journalism is perhaps one of the most credible around Africa. I mean, I've been to a few countries in this region in Africa, and I can tell you that Kenya's journalism is way ahead of everybody else. But we can't afford to measure ourselves and to use Africa as a benchmark. I think those international standards must be met, must be upheld as a way of ensuring that we continue as consumers, as audiences, to trust the media, regardless of the technologies that are available to us, AI and everything else. So while the changes are important, and we cannot run away from those, integrity, credibility, reliability are the currency upon which the media should be built and should rely on. So technologies are good, but it is the modalities of appropriation of those technologies that will matter to us as journalists and as audiences that continue to trust and continue to rely on the media for various for information, and of course giving us a platform for us to engage not only with information but also the actors and leaders and everybody else that is part of this society.
Yeah, Jared. So here we are because. But Professor has just mentioned something that is very critical in terms of interaction with the audience, right? And I remember that day when Raila Amolo Odinga, may he rest in peace, was coming back to the country. And one thing that we did was we started tracking RAW 001, you know? And at that time, because when we got onto that radar system, we could see how that flight was coming in, you know, from Djibouti to Ethiopia to Somalia to Wajir, coming to Nairobi, making the last turn. We could actually even trace that flight as it was taking the taxiway at the airport until it finally docked. But here we have AI, because AI, even when you take the beautiful lady at Google, if you ever use maps, they can't say Ngong Road. It is always a Nyong Road or something, you know? But that speaks to the believability and trust that we, as media professionals, especially communicating to our audience, would be able to communicate, you know? If I want to say Jacinta Kiraguri, it's easy for me, but the lady at Google can't say that. You know, she'll just butcher that name, right? So let's speak to AI making it easier for media and working together to win, because that is the whole purpose.
Okay, thank you. When it comes to, take an example, what you've given in terms of using Google Maps, and then you start, maybe the sound is not clearly Kenyan sound. The reality is that it's a machine. It's a machine that has been trained with a foreign, let's say American kind of accent and the likes, but you're trying to mention a name which is an African name. So maybe we should ask ourselves, do we need to come up with our own AI, whereby we can actually train our own models that have been localized? We use Kenyan languages, the Kenyan accent, and it becomes easier for someone to understand what that person is saying on the other side. Yeah, so I think it actually speaks to the aspect of us as African and maybe as Kenyans coming up with our own models so that we can actually have an AI that is relatable to us. Yeah. And then at the same time, maybe just to mention something else, AI is supposed to be an enabler. Just like the mobile, let's say when we had this aspect of people now going back to mobile phones, using mobile phones to do all the things and the likes, it's supposed to enable us now to even come up with an efficient way of producing content, but not necessarily to replace the way we do content. Because, you know, we can actually have all these technologies, but at the end of the day, storytelling will still be the same. So you actually need to have someone on the ground, collect the content, and from there now it has to be verified in one way or the other. Yes.
Raul, let's now look at in the industry today. If I'm doing a pitch, right? So I'm selling the Situation Room. This is our rate card, and this is what we're giving. The next question that the client would ask, okay, so what are you doing in the socials? Because that as well is where Kenyans are, right? So it is a question of the media is there as legacy media, but there is this aspect of social media that equally is added value to what one would call the legacy media. Yeah. How do we intermarry these two for it to make sense? Because remember, we will always pride ourselves for being the first private media house, you know? Conversations like digital first is a daily thing. I know Jacinta always says, Aseto, we are streaming live on standardmedia.co.ke and on our YouTube channel as well. That is my line every other day. How critical is it for the media to jump on that, and how do they marry to make a beautiful child called success?
Wonderful. The best example I can draw from, and this is such in an era where, legacy media is being called to question. There's a newspaper in Lebanon called Andaha newspaper. Andaha newspaper in the advertising world is the most awarded media house on planet Earth because of their boldness and in the way they've actually done their pieces, and how they've been able to take advantage of social media to be able to do that. And just a few weeks ago, one of the founders was actually being given a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Luri's Festival of Creativity in South Africa. And I happened to share some time with her, and I wanted to ask, how did you get here? And it was one thing that she said: dare to challenge status quo, not just in covering the news, but also in adaptation of media. They're among the first media houses to actually get on Twitter, YouTube and everything else. I think in an age where everyone who has a social media handle is a broadcaster, one of the things that I look at saying is that the real value will lie in the person who is trusted the most. In an era where everyone has a social media handle, they can be broadcasters by themselves. Yeah. Trust lies in the one who has actually been able to demonstrate that over time. And I think legacy media remains the truth anchor in the sea of noise as it stands. So to answer your question, one of the key things I think we can look at is legacy media as it is, capitalizing onto social media equals verified voice in a post-truth society as it stands. I think the second aspect towards that is we did a study called the Consumer Connection Study as Denso, and we were looking at all Kenyans across different living standard measures in urban and peri-urban areas. And one of the things that kept on coming back, we are always told, our clients tell us, oh, but this digital thing, digital is growing. Yeah, digital might be growing. But do you know one thing that has not changed? Humans. Human beings are still human beings. And do you know what human beings look for in Kenya? About 71% of this study, of the people who are questioned, still cite TV as their most trusted.
KTN at 35, please clap for us.
Yeah. They cite TV as their most trusted source of news. That should say a lot. And I think in a world where brands need trust and reach, and not just virality, I think it's important for us to be able to see how these two worlds then can come together. And I think it's important for us to, in the words of the founder of Andaha, she mentioned, let us dare to challenge status quo.
Status quo.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Assis Premium Tea Kiptagich Tea Estates. They are part of us today. They have said KTN at 35 has to shine, look good. Yeah. Be sure to go get yourself a pack or two of the same and enjoy their amazing tea.
Sorry, before you continue, I just have one closing remark that I think is really, really important. And the role of digital channels here is to amplify messages. Legacy channels validate them. I think that's important for us to realize. Digital channels will always amplify, it will give you that reach. Legacy channels will always validate those messages. The role of legacy channel is to validate. Yeah.
Prof.
Let me just comment on what is just said, and based on the question that you asked. Look at the question of social media, and ask myself, what is social media? Television and cinema was the first social media because it brought people together, brought them to the sitting room to watch that news. Cinema took people to the cinema to watch, films. And then the so-called social media came about. And these are technologies that are, of course, appropriated by individuals and consequently democratized information production and distribution. And somewhat made it very difficult for people to sit together and watch news and consume content. But at the same time, we know that we cannot, and legacy media as we know it, cannot avoid the so-called social media because it's complementary to a large extent. Complementary in the sense that it's got a very wide reach. And if you want KTN, for example, to travel further, then you have to put your news on, say, social media, or what I would call digital platforms. Because these digital platforms are part of the new developments within media. And consequently, we shouldn't, for example, discredit social media. It is, what are we doing with social media? And what does digital first strategy mean, for instance? And I've seen very many media organizations actually have coming up with that strategy. Standard started that strategy, for example, and had this newsroom that was converged, and it was digital first in the sense that it would publish on digital platforms because of the wide reach that had. But that came with problems in the sense that there was hardly any gatekeeping. And issues of verification and fact-checking became a problem, and anything went. And consequently, social media became the site of information disorder, misinformation, malinformation, and all these challenges with fake news, or what we call fake news.
Yeah.
And the question then that we ask ourselves is, how do we make these social media platforms become important sites for credible, reliable, and trustworthy information? And the media, as we know it, Standard, Nation, have appropriated these spaces, and they become part of the news process, storytelling process. And I think it's important for us to realize that we cannot avoid that. Just a very quick one on AI. And it's gratifying that the PS for information is here, because I think the president has recently said that Kenya is investing a lot in AI. And what that then means is that maybe very soon we'll be pronouncing Ngong Road as it should be pronounced, because we'll be using local language to enhance what AI does. And we cannot afford to be excluded from this AI space. Africa, Kenya are important players in this ecosystem.
Jared, digital first, AI policy, posting across all social media platforms, key for Standard as we speak today. Moving forward, what do we see?
Let me start with the AI policy. The reason why it's important for media houses to have an AI policy is the fact that there are so many AI platforms out there that someone can use, but you're not assured that the content that you're going to get from those platforms is verified. Yeah, so you find that in some instance, an AI platform can hallucinate, and you end up having content that is not it's not verifiable. Yeah. So the reason why you need to have an AI policy is that it becomes easier now to regulate how you're using AI in your let's say in the media media space. So you find that instead of just posting random content, there's a way that maybe you need to verify. Maybe you need to find out from maybe your senior or something if the content is can be published in one or the other. So the danger of not having, you can imagine maybe that young man in a bedroom somewhere with a computer, they're able to generate content, publish it on online, and then post it on social media. There's a lot of misinformation from that. So at the end of the day, we end up now being the voice that can easily verify this content and provide content that is that has gone through so many stopgaps to ensure that it's verifiable content.
A minute each as we went down.
I just wanted to say
AI is a very hot topic here.
I just want to say something very quickly. That in an era where, of course, we have become all journalists, for instance, it is becoming increasingly difficult, for instance, for us to produce sometimes, and maybe regulation is needed in that sense. Because there's a lot of misinformation, and as we know, false news travels faster than perhaps the credible, truthful, and accurate information.
Yeah, Densu, we will continue this conversation after the fact, but I just want to take it back to Yolanda Mula as we give a round of applause to our panelists here for an amazing conversation. Asanteni sana. Yeah.